It's the Stranger Nerds here. Welcome with us. You have Tommy Grant, Mitchell Lee, and myself, Connor Vandermark, and we are bringing you with episode 5 of season 4, The Nina Project, written by Kate Treffy and then directed by Nimrod Antal. Is that how I pronounce it correctly?
Nimrod.
Nimrod. That's an
Sounds right to
interesting
me.
name. Um,
Nimrod.
so this one, we're just kind of talking about off air. But this one's definitely a longer one compared to the others. I know this. You guys are saying the season is longer, but yeah, this is an hour in. I'm like, oh, there's still more 20 more minutes left of this thing. It's interesting how they set it up that way. But there's a lot of juicy things, I think, and then some stuff that's like, eh.
Yeah, just wait because next week is a good 25 minutes longer.
Oh, an hour 45.
Or
Shit.
I'm sorry, not next week. The week after. Next
Okay.
week's about the same time, but
Hmm.
episode
Hmm.
seven.
Hmm.
That
finale.
Episode 7 is 101 minutes.
Hour 40.
8 is 87, and then episode 9, the season finale, is 142 minutes.
That's a full movie. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, so we're not that deep into the woods yet.
Oh, I had to watch it the night before instead of doing this like the day of.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's a long one, but in a good way.
That's
Not so
two.
much.
That's 2 hours and 20 minutes. Holy shit.
Yeah, and honestly, it keeps you hooked in. It's not a slow one. It's not a slow burner like this one was at points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will make a recommendation. Can we review that episode when we get to that episode? Let's talk about right now. Damn
No,
it!
Mitchell.
No, Mitchell.
Alrighty.
We'll review that when the time comes.
Well, let's dive right in. So with the opening scene, we see Mike, Will, and Jonathan trying to save Agent Harmon from the gunshot wound that you got, and then
Stupid ass Argyle.
He's freaking out, and again, he hasn't dealt with any of this shit, so this is all like in his face. Oh, secret agent dude, this dude got shot, and now we're on the run. So I don't blame him here. So it insists to warn Dr. Owens because Elle's in danger, and he utters Nina before dying. Um, Will notice a car following them, so they go off the road, and yeah, and then meanwhile, Sullivan and his men, the military, is searching the Briar's house, and they find the note that Elle left for Mike.
They
So,
should have burned it.
mm-hmm. I really have I had my own personal. It's like that damn note. I, he should have kept it on person. He really cared.
Yep. So I have to ask, when you first watched this, what did you think Nina meant? Because obviously we
Um,
find out pretty quickly in this episode what it means, but
yeah, I actually did write. I did write this down. So I was originally thinking this was alluding to was the uh, Plymouth Rock and the Pilgrims. So you have the three boats: Nina,
oh wow,
Pinta, and
okay.
the Santa Maria. So I was like, maybe, is that where they're going with this? Like, kind of name the project after this? Okay, I see the face you give me, Mitchell, but like, there's
No,
been there's
I can
there's
appreciate
been
where your
weirder
brain went.
shit.
That was some good outside thinking.
There's some weird
Yeah.
stuff that they bring up, and like there could have been some like way to tie it in or name it after that because of it. But like the way I did enjoy it with again the name after a freaking opera for God's sakes. So like
Yeah.
I I I wasn't too far in left field on that one. Um, I gotta pull up my notes. That would be very helpful for myself. There they are.
But I
Um,
do appreciate like how they have the little 12 hours earlier post put up to let you know. But like
mhm.
it was such a random spot where they just pull up in the middle of the desert and there's a fucking little mound with a door. Like
Oh no,
I,
that's typical for silos.
just sticking out in the middle of the field. Like I would like in my brain, I would think it would be like maybe up against a hill or maybe in the mountains have a door connecting to make it look a little bit more blended in, not just middle of the field, just a little door sticking up out of the ground.
So the reason for that is to make sure to make it as obscure as possible. Because again, it's in the middle of fucking nowhere, and definitely during the Cold War, they want to make sure that the missiles that they had for those were as inconspicuous as possible. So the main reason we bring this up is that the scene we see Elle get out of the car and enter what Dr. Owens even mentions is a ICBM missile silo that's been repurposed. And then I leave in this note, well, this fuck is back.
Yep.
And actually, I thought it was very interesting.
How surprised were you?
I was slightly surprised. I was like, I know they teased in the very first episode. I kind of figured he was back, but I didn't think he would be back in this aspect of like directly involved. I thought he'd be more on like the military side, maybe them feeding information that way. But like the fact that Dr. Owens is teaming up with him says a lot, in my opinion. And the other thing I thought was this is kind of sidetracked from the episode itself, but I saw this going around. I think it was yesterday or this past weekend that Bobby Millie Brown, or is it how you pronounce her last name?
Millie.
Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, I was right. She's got married to John Barbie's kid. And turns out the person who officiated the wedding was the guy who played Papa.
No.
Yeah, he actually
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of creepy.
But the thing is, like, I say outside the fact, like, good for them.
That's not their relation in real life. You know that, right?
I know that, Mitchell.
Hey, congrats to her. Congrats to John Bovie's kid. Sorry, I don't know your name, buddy. Also found
his
out
name
John
is
Bovie's...
like John Bon Jovi, and it's like, wow, that okay.
No, but the thing is, like, that's the actual last name of John, like, before going on to it, which I did not even know, and that's me from being a New Jerseyan. So hence the name of the production company.
You don't fuck with Bon Jovi on this podcast.
You don't.
We have a rest stop. We have a rest stop.
He's a saint of New Jersey, and he shall be protected.
Yeah.
For those who never dove through New Jersey, we actually have rest stops named after very like popular, famous figures that are from New Jersey. Like who's the guy who played The Sopranos?
James Gandolfini.
Yes, there's literally a James Gandolfini rest stop on the Turnpike. It's awesome.
There's going to be one for Aaron Rodgers after he wins the Super Bowl. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
God, no. Weekly recess. You can tie to there. I ranted on that today. So let's talk about each of the gangs. Cutting back to the wonderful group in California. So they're burying Agent Harmon's body in the junkyard. Argyle's freaking out, and again, rightfully so, because he's got wrapped into this whole thing and no idea what was happening. Yeah. And then John's like, "Go smoke some weed, calm down," which honestly, probably the right call. Like,
I like how he says it though too. Like he's just like free. He's like, just go to the van, do your thing. Okay,
and, like,
man.
I kind of like this scene with Argyle because the fact that like we actually seeing who he is as a person, and like, no, again, he's always high, but like seeing the fact that like, oh, he's actually taking this as a normal person would in a situation that's so goddamn outlandish that he has to be drugged up in order to be actually usable for the gang.
Yeah.
So I did like the directing on that part. So Mike continues to express his regret how he handled the fight with Elle. I thought that scene was fine with both of them. I compared to the previous one, this was at least reasonable.
Yeah.
And then Argo's trying to make a headstone, which honestly very funny. And with Harmon's pen, and it's not working. And then Mike's like, oh, why would Mike actually having a brain is like, oh, why would he give us a pen that doesn't work? Like, to me, I would like stupid fucking pens. Like, they never work for me.
I also appreciate that Jonathan's kind of coming back to planet Earth now that shit's actually hitting the fan. He's like, I have to step up a little bit
and not hide.
And he's even like talking to Argyle like, yeah, you're gonna put our names on a headstone of a guy that shouldn't technically exist over here. And he's like, well, they're pretty common names. It's just like Jonathan's like, no.
This is not the point, man. No. Like, sure, do your thing. So they realize that the number found leads up to a dial. There's a number inside the pen. They go to a telephone booth in the middle of fucking nowhere. And when they call, they realize they hear the tones and they relate it to one movie called War Games. Great movie.
Yep.
And they realize, oh, we are actually calling to a computer. And by the way, when Harmon was dying, he was mentioning call Nina. And so that is interesting to me, is that they might actually converse with L. Because Nina is the computer that L is currently in, which we'll get to that in a bit.
I'm kind of surprised that they clued the audience in on those details so early on, because they could have made that whole Nina aspect a complete mystery.
Yeah.
For a little bit more than just 10 minutes into an episode, like.
Yeah, or like have like Nina written on the phone number, like call like no.
We could have had like a whole National Treasure-esque side quest for the California crew to go on to figure out what Nina was.
That would have been pretty fun.
Right.
So Mike realizing, oh, this is definitely outside our range. We need a hacker, and then they realize, oh, we do know one, and they're about a day's ride from us in Utah.
And Susie's coming back.
And honestly, I think this is a really good way to integrate her.
Yeah.
Because the fact that they've never seen her, they just know of her from this one interaction, and I did like the part Will actually singing the song.
Yeah. But also, not to mention, she has no clue who they are.
Yes.
So when they show up, they're not going to have Dustin with them.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
You heard you know how to hack.
This is gonna be very funny. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually liking. More so enjoying where this is now going. So we'll see how that goes out. Actually, I'm gonna jump the show doc. I want to talk about L right now.
Okay.
And because of the fact that it kind of lanes in with both of them because they're kind of still interconnected here. So Elle wakes up with a shaved head in Hawkins' lab, and she's freaked the hell out, especially with the bald head. And she's in a room that we know the Rainbow Room, as it's known as. Well, she goes to the hallway, goes in the Rainbow Room, and then she sees one of what's the name of the word term they use? Cleric's not the right word.
Was it orderly?
Orderly, yes, the orderly.
The word that I have so nicely typed in the show doc for you.
I'm really going again. I am just going. Yeah, the orderly again. That's right. I'm just honestly just reciting from my head.
You're good.
So, this orderly it's kind of like a Groundhog Day situation, and she's trying to break out of this loop that's occurring where the orderly keeps asking her, like, oh, no, you were a sleepyhead today, like, we're going to have training soon. And Elle is kind of fighting what she's in right now, and again, she woke up here, and previously she tried to run away from realizing, oh, Papa's here, trauma, no. And so when they put her under, she doesn't know she's under. She just knows that she woke up into this hellhole that she was.
Yep.
And then she sees a reflection of herself as a child, and she's pretty freaked out. And
if I had to run into that creepy orderly every single time, I'd be freaked out too. He gives off like the child pedophile vibe.
Yeah.
As opposed to the adult pedophile vibe.
I mean, technically, 11 was a child and still kind of is.
Yes. Yes, you are correct.
Child pedophile.
And I can definitely see Elle, especially how she is, and knowing the situation she was in. I can definitely see her like freaking hell, like not grounding herself and understanding what is going on. Again, I guess us as a viewer, it helps that we are literally on the outside looking into this whole situation.
Yeah.
But I saw it, me as like, oh, she needs to play through the script, and no, the Papa, I can't think of the actual character
Dr.
name.
Brenner.
Dr. Brenner, thank you. So Dr. Brenner kind of coaches her through, like, hey, you need to remember what happened. Like, this is your memories, and then she kind of plays along, and I will say follows through on what the memory is. And then we kind of really get a better picture of what Elle went through as a test subject in the lab. And no, we had the very first image of her when she killed all the other kids in the very first episode of this season. And we get a glimpse of these other kids actually who are interacting with her, and like we see that Dr. Brenner is giving her preference, and while these other kids are upset that like, oh, she doesn't have the powers that we do, and like we can definitely see like, oh, this is something that that's been building with them, and Brenner even like antagonizing her in a way of like, oh, they're laughing at you, trying to motivate her, but now I'm kind of curious, like, did Brenner try to motivate too far where she had such animosity for these other kids that eventually led her to killing them? So,
and it's interesting because like we now know that Brenner was essentially training her to be a telekinetic assassin.
Yes, a weapon.
And
real.
All of these other students seem to have very specific abilities. So I'm curious as to why he was so adamant on training just 11. Like purely pushing her. Like, did she have something they didn't?
Or there was some indicator possibly, which that may have been triggered earlier, like an event that was recorded, and like, oh, she did this. She has the potential of doing this. We just gotta find the right buttons to press for her. And like we kind of even seen that too, where and Nina is kind of mentioned. We didn't kind of mention this before, but Nina is the sensory deprivation tank that Elle has done before, and that she is currently in right at the moment. I
almost feel like this is a stronger tank for some reason. I don't know why. Like I feel like it's something stronger because Dr. Brenner is training her to get her powers back, but to also be stronger than what she was before. So I'm curious. Like
in a way, yes. Again, this whole thing gives me the what's the movie with the balls and the prediction kind of thing, and I don't remember it. Mitchell, help me out.
Minority Report.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Fantastic.
I knew you would know it, so that's why I kind of just put the breadcrumbs out there for you.
That is low key one of Tom Cruise's best movies, and maybe one of Spielberg's best too, that no one ever talks about. But
it's a good one.
The story.
It's
really good.
Great plot, and I recommend it if you've ever seen it.
Yeah.
So with this, I am. So we get the part where Elle is kind of she turns the light bulb on. We see her working on it, and you can see it. We kind of see like, she's starting to touch into her powers, and like this is her actually working on this. And she gets a nosebleed, and then her so we get the whole thing where she starts realizing her hands are covered in blood,
breaking in and out.
And
Connor's
to me, how I'm interpreting this is that currently her power is tied to the trauma, and because of that, of course, a common symbol of hands and blood means, I got blood on my hands. I am guilty for killing all these people.
Yeah.
And so she starts going into cardiac arrest, and then when they pull her out, she tries to escape again. And when she tries to escape this time, and the security guards come up to her, she just again has that trauma feeling, and like like kind of like the other test subject who taught her how to use her powers, like, tying into the anger is such a huge thing, and like releasing it, and again, it's tied to that very heavy sense of emotion. So, and we get that surprise, like, oh, the guards are at the wall, and then Benner praises her progress and gives the opportunity to go out the door, but he puts like, hey, I know why you're going through this. Trust me here, and we'll get your powers back. So, and she eventually does, and takes his hand, goes back in, and we'll see how that continues. But I thought it was very interesting how she literally it's literally a battle against herself in order to resolve the trauma that she has to go through.
Yeah. For me, all this scene needed was the Emperor in the background going, "Do it. Do it."
Join the dark side.
And that scene would have been perfect.
You become even more powerful. Yeah, that was like, I think honestly, this is kind of nice to actually get. I know we got a slight background in season 2 with the whole, montage she went through, but like, I think how I do enjoy how they're fleshing this out a lot more.
And it's nice to see that we know she actually interacted with other kids, because prior to this, we knew of just 8 when they were really little. But
Yes.
we didn't know, had she been the 11th subject and all the ones before her died, like, we never knew what the progression was. Now we know it's a collective group of kids trained at the same time.
Interacting.
Yeah. But we still haven't seen, I don't think we've seen all of them.
I don't know. I think we have, because they're all lined up together
Okay.
in the Rainbow Room. That's my assumption, at least.
Okay. I'll have to look into it. I think they were missing 1 or 2. So I think they had mentioned in the episode at one point, someone had mentioned maybe 8 escaping.
Mm-hmm.
But because obviously we don't see 8 in any of these scenes.
Yeah.
Hey,
It learned from
this
season
is a
2's mistake.
this is a positive.
It's cool. Anything else on that? Because I think that was pretty cut and dry of a situation. I didn't double check my notes just in case. But
No, the only other thing I would like to quickly talk about is, one, Dr. Owens and Dr. Brenner's relationship, and how
yes, that's a good
Dr.
point.
Owens definitely seems to want to be working with him only for the sake of keeping 11 safe,
And
and to
also,
help out Hawkins. He's like his,
also keeping in Elle's. He thinks he's in Elle's best interest.
Yeah.
Where trying to actually protect her.
Yeah.
Kind of like a guardian does.
but also they're both kind of against the military aspect, because there's that
Yes.
one scene where Owen's like, "Hey, like, they're on to us. Like, we need to,
Yeah,
we need to
time's
wrap this
running
shit
out.
up."
Looking at my notes, I do have Papa is still a dick.
Yep.
I was going through this, and then
He's very manipulative, and he knows how to work Elle to his favor.
yeah, that's the only thing I have left going on. Yeah, that's the last I have of it. Yeah, I just have what I mentioned before about the trauma of killing students, having the powers. All right, cool. Let's go to Murray and Murray, Joyce, and Hopper, because I thought that was interesting itself.
Yeah.
Let's go Hopper first. So,
Yeah, speaking of trauma,
yeah. Honestly, I think this arc was the best one in this episode. I see why you guys like Hopper that much, because this was a fantastic.
it was the backstory we've been waiting for.
This is a fantastic acted set piece that we like overall acting wise. Mitchell, you're better at eyeing this up, but like I thought this was a hit, slam dunk.
Yeah, no, I've always been a big fan of this character, and in this season in particular, with me not being a big fan of the whole Mike, Will, Jonathan paper bag acting boy, Argyle. Just there are certain subplots that I'm just not a big fan of. But anything involving Hopper, I'm always going to enjoy.
Yeah.
And so I really liked seeing him just lose his shit on Dimitri when Dimitri, you could tell that he was definitely defeated, but tried to kind of just be like, hey, this is the risk that we were always taking. But you could tell he's pretty shocked that he did not expect Yuri to just completely turn on him like that. And Hopper seems like he's just kind of given himself up to any hope coming his way. Like he had a chance and it didn't work out. And so now you get this backstory about like how he's cursed and
I want to get. Well, we will
his
dive
Vietnam
into more.
story. Yeah,
We will dive into because I want to talk about all of that. Because
Connor is speaking.
by all means.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that
I think it was important to note the fact that Hopper, for once, is just truly defeated.
Yes,
Emotionally, physically,
he's a
Dimitri
broken
promised
man.
him that out. And I feel like it wasn't even promised. I feel like Dimitri was the one who kind of instigated Hopper to try and make an escape in the first place. Because I'm almost curious if Dimitri was going to try and use him to get out himself. Because he I don't know. I feel like Dimitri had some alternative motives.
I didn't think that. So
it seems like he got Hopper's hopes up, which is why Hopper really lashed out at him.
That's what I thought too.
Dimitri was in it for the money, and no, because he saw his way again. Because the U.S. dollar is much better than the Russian ruble. No, even now.
But on the same token, though, what would all that American cash do him any good in Russia?
Oh, it goes a long way.
Money spends the same.
Yes, but someone would have been able to figure out, like, hey, this guy just has an insane amount of American cash. How did he get it with also Hopper escaping?
People don't care about that, especially like when it comes to like Russia, generally speaking. To like, I'm not trying to make a generalization here, but like when it comes to the tropes, when it comes to Russians.
Hey, we have a lot of Russian listenership. You might want to be careful with this one.
Well, again, I've coached and played hockey with Russians, like who are literally from Russia. So like I know that's why I'm trying to be smart. I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, because these are my friends who are Russian, and it's the thing. It's that the trope is that they are very, backroom deals and bribery and these kind of aspects to it. So they can, the general trope is that like, oh, they can find a way to make things work. And that's how I kind of saw Dimitri is like, I can make some good money here. Yuri is going to make his own cash here, with make his own side business. I have a good deal for myself. I can make, let's say Yuri takes half the cut of the 40K that they did. Still, 20K in American dollars back then is probably sitting, let's see, 20K in 1985 to today. So that's around $50,000. And then, 58 grand. And then convert that to the whatever Russian is for that. That could be, let's say easy 100K minimum for just for one of them. So like,
that's true.
That goes a long way. Where for the whole transaction alone is 100K. Yeah. So. Yeah, I can see that, and for them that's life-changing money. Like even Yuri was mentioning it too. Like, no, we'll get to this with Murray, but like there was the comment of like, no, Murray kind of snaps at Yuri. Is like, oh, would your mother be proud? It's like, of course she is. I'm making all this cash. I'm selling fucking peanut butter for $1, buying her $1.50 and selling it marked up price for 10 times as much.
Yeah.
And like, that's to them. This is their way of life, and of course they're trying to get up on everybody else and make their own slice of life for themselves. So yeah, they're in. I thought their interaction was very interesting too, because Dimitri still has hope, and we get the scene where Dimitri's trying to bribe the guard and like you saying, "Oh, Hopper's a wealthy man. No, he can. No, he's from old money. We'll get you money in order to make sure we get out of here." And the other guys, and Hopper is broken, and he wants. I'm not saying the will to live is gone, but it's pretty much not there.
Yeah. Little do we know that Dmitri has already sent out a mass email to the Russian population saying, "Hey, there's an American prince. Send us $10,000."
Yeah, the Nigerian prince is coming for him. So, and I think it's really nice having that foil to each other, where Dimitri is trying to still live. He still sees a future where like I can get out of this, and I would say Hopper's will to live, I will say, is not zero. But I think the better way to reword that is he's resigned to his fate. Whatever happened at this point happened.
Yeah.
So, so after this mix up with the one guard, and the other guard just like, don't interact with me. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to get in trouble myself. Dimitri even comments like, "What's like? Don't you want to see Joyce?" And Hopper goes in the background, talks about him as a kid. It's real. When they were signed to join up to the military at that time in Vietnam, they were kids. Like as someone who's 30 now, like I see someone who's 22, you're a kid still. Like there's a different maturity range in between that. And he's 18 in Vietnam. Mixed in the chemical branch, and mixing up with Agent Orange. And for those who don't know, that's a real thing. And once they said that, that is not good. There has been many, many lawsuits against the United States government over Agent Orange and its effects on those who have dealt with it. And like he talks about like, oh, the government's like, oh, they're doing it's a pesticide, but really it's literally killing the Vietnamese population. Like, be generally politically like, no. This is one of the things where it's like, yeah, this was messed up, and this was something where this was actual chemical warfare that we took part in the 1960s, and it's not pretty looking after the fact to the United States government.
Yeah.
So, and he talks about him and his wife looking for the kids. He's talking about how his platoon mates who had all the issues, the stillborn deaths, I remember one like the eyes bulging out of their heads.
Yeah, he was mentioning stillborns, crooked spines, eyes bulging out. All,
and these are all accurate. These are all accurate symptoms of Agent Orange, because the way that it works is that it affects with the DNA, or mutates the DNA actually in the reproductive organs, and so when they are trying to have their kids are having these defects, and so I thought that him talking about and like, him having his daughter's name's Sarah, correct?
Yeah.
So,
which, by the way, my fiance wanted to note that every dead fiance, wife, daughter is named Sarah. She's like, yeah, I just the daughter from The Last of Us is named Sarah. The daughter in this is named Sarah. Just every dead wife or daughter is named Sarah.
So don't name your child Sarah. Is the
or do it once they turn like 18. I don't know. Like, we wanted to name you Sarah, but we were afraid that you were gonna die young if we did. So
that's like even then is like, don't mess with fate on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, I feel like as soon as we do that, you're gonna get hit by a school bus.
Free tuition.
Yeah. If you make it through.
That was a common joke at Rutgers. So getting back into this morbidity, uh, so the whole thing, Hopper knew about all this, and he knew it was tempting fate, trying to have a kid, and his wife wanted to have one.
Yep.
And everything was going great, and then when she got a little older, the defects came up, and I thought that, and even he mentions like, oh, he's clinging to 11, clinging to Joyce because they were bright things in his life,
Yep.
and the fact that Joyce is now in his mind captured and coming over and to be turned over to the KGB, who knows what's going to happen? He's literally a grim reaper of death, and whoever he comes in contact with is broken. And the line that you mentioned, Mitchell, which I thought was fantastic, is "I wasn't cursed." No, maybe I wasn't cursed. I am the cursed. And I thought it was such a great, impactful line
Yeah.
of his mentality at this moment. Again, at seeing as an overall detriment, even though everybody around him see him as otherwise. And again, and he's also in a foreign land with no friends. There's no allies. Like the person his co-conspirator is currently in jail with him, about to get eaten by what we hear in the background, possibly a Demogorgon.
Oh, that shit's
And
a fucking Demogorgon. They
oh yeah, we know it is. We saw the end of season 3 where we got that clip of them feeding it to
yeah.
feeding a prisoner to it. But going into the scene, we kind of get the play of like there is that one shot of the doors. No, it was like, oh, what's this? So the doors are like, yep, Demogorgon's behind there, and then we get that there's also a flail that's on the ground.
They got fucking Russian gladiator arenas going on out there.
Yes,
That's their
what it's
form of
like.
entertainment.
And no, they love betting, so they
Yep.
are going to go all in on this. So yeah, so that's the end of that. But overall, I thought it was very, very well done. I really enjoyed this scene overall.
Well,
Um,
another random thing on the Demogorgon is they mentioned that there was a monster from America.
yes.
How the fuck did they get that thing into Russia? That's what I want to know. What season did they capture this thing? Where did it come from? How did they get it there?
Sneak to the Canadian border and hit Alaska, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a hard thing to capture.
Yeah. Damn Yuri. Speaking of Yuri, let's go over to the other two, Murray and Joyce. So on the flight over, they both wake up to Yuri on the plane, and then talks about he sold him out to provide for his mother. So pretty much, talks about how them selling him out, and talk about the peanut butter, which I thought was very interesting, which makes complete sense. And then, so Yuri takes his spot in the cockpit. Murray's trying to holler over to Yuri like, "Hey, I need to go to the bathroom here. Can't do anything." He can't hear him, so George gets the bright idea. If he can't hear him, let's do our damnedest to get the hell out of here.
Yep.
And one thing that I completely forgot, especially living in the modern times, is that a lot of things back then were made out of glass. And I didn't realize originally that those bottles were jars of peanut butter were glass jars, not plastic ones we're used to today. And the jar fell over. Joyce decides to kick out, and then she brings up to Murray's like, "Hey, you're a black belt, right?" And then we get this funny ass scene where he's like, "Yeah, I fought like 13-year-olds."
My favorite Murray quote of all time. My fingers are like arrows. Feel the iron in my arms and the spears in my feet. Oh my god, that line was great.
But it was like the fact that he's like, "Oh yeah, like I thought was it Jimmy Henderson? He was a 16-year-old. I beat him once. I can do that." He's like literally pep talking himself, and George is like, "You gotta be kidding me right now."
Yeah, she's giving him the look of, Oh no, he's
He's
buying
fighting-
into his own hype.
he was fighting 13-year-olds as a grown ass man.
Yeah.
Oh no. And guess what? So Jory gets herself free. Yuri pulls a gun on her, and Murray frees his hand as well. And then he sets his position up, and look, we know Murray can actually fight.
Yes.
No,
Little to their advantage because he fucking knocks him out.
I was very very good choreographed. I very thought this fight was like very Street Fighter esque.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was very well choreographed in that aspect of like, oh, then like, because you're kind of stuck in that single line, and them like scoring each other off after the gun got knocked out, and like, and also like very Indiana Jones with the plane like moving up and down. They're like moving in and out.
That was a very Indiana Jones type fight.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
And then Murray accidentally knocks out Yuri, and he's all pumped up, like, let's go. And then George's like, we need to fly this goddamn plane.
Yeah.
And the thing that irked me is that none of them decided to actually tie Yuri up after knocking him out. Because I thought that, like, that's the first thing is like, oh, one person, try to keep this thing afloat. The other person tie him up, so when he regains consciousness, you're not in the same position that they were in.
Yeah.
And then, so the engine seizes on the plane, and then they crash land into the woods. So that's where the small snippets, but fun section.
Well, one more note I have on Yuri is just the funny, ironic part is Yuri could have saved him so much trouble if he had just simply not told them that he sold them out, flew them to Russia, and then just sold them when they got there.
No, that would, in my opinion, that wouldn't have worked because the original deal was he was picking him up to bring him back to America. Like, why would they have to go with him?
I don't know. Was that the original deal?
The original deal was he was going to bring Hopper over.
Okay.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
No, because the fact that why would you bring two people who are liabilities to you over to Russia and then bring them all three back? That's, to me, like, how Yuri thinks, that's how I would have originally pieced that together. And then, anything else on this before we head to the last section?
No, let's get into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not a huge fan of your tagline here, this one, honestly.
I couldn't come up with a good tagline.
So, honestly, I would have leaned more in Scooby-Doo-esque, is I would have. Because
my creative juices weren't flowing on this one.
Because this was right out of Scooby-Doo, and I loved it. This is a fun little bit here. So, starting off with Eddie. So Eddie's getting restless. He makes some SpaghettiOs, and Nancy's one of her answers, asking for food and beer. And Nancy's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then realized Max isn't there and hangs up on him. And he's like, all right, fuck it, whatever. So they go upstairs, find Max up there, eating breakfast with the rest of the family. This is, by the way, this is what I meant. Papa's the dick, but also this is what I meant. Dad's still a dick. Is this? This is what I meant. Because he's also still a dick.
Yep.
And I love how Dustin, as like a teenager now, leans into it, where it's like, I was like, oh, you guys want to help yourself? Like, have as much as you want. It's like, if you insist, it just keeps grabbing more pancakes. And the dad's like, are you serious? But like, he kind of opened that can of worms. I was like,
yep.
You gave me the permission. I'm taking it.
Yeah.
So
it's like you with the
vanilla wafers. Yes. Yes. That was an open invitation. And so so I think it was very interesting where the parents have no real interaction in this conversation that they have at the kitchen table, and the sister's right there with them.
Playing with the little light bright. Did you guys have that when you were little?
Those two's light brighting? I didn't see that part. Yeah, that had a light bright. So, sorry, do you say something, Mitchell?
No, I was just saying that. Yeah, no, that was something I had as well.
So Max has borrowed her crayons, the sister's crayons, and she was drawing what she was trying to remember, which it was in her mind. Did not get it recorded as soon as possible. Cool, good on you, Max. Um, so it's nonchalantly those three having a conversation with the sister right there, and Dustin going to like, oh, what Freddy Krueger is, and like discussing what they saw in the Upside Down. Kind of like what I alluded to last week was like, oh, maybe they got into the realm of Vecna and like did something. It's a place that she shouldn't have seen.
Yeah.
And they kind of alluded to again, where like that little snippet of like, oh, why are you here? And then, so the thing that kind of shocked me was how did Nancy? I know Nancy talked to Victor Creel, but how did she know the stained glass? Is it like did she see this? Like the glass was covered up. How'd she know about it? Unless Victor, no, that's right. Victor Creel mentioned it in his when he talked about him buying the house.
Yeah.
He specifically mentioned, oh, there's like a rose in the stained glass. Like, oh, that's Victor Creel's house. That's right. So she sees the glass door, and that was honestly the trigger for me last episode, knowing this is the house.
Yeah.
And so Nancy, same thing, realizes, oh, this is the house, makes the house out of it, and like, we got to go there. So gathers everybody else up and heads on over. I just want to get this out of the way now. Talk about Eddie, where in the other jock boys who are dealing with things. Meanwhile, this is all going on. The jocks are still hunting for Eddie. Someone mentioned that they could be at the house, and they start snooping for him. And Eddie realizes, oh, I'm in trouble here. I should get the hell out of here. Wow, these guys are hot on my tail. So he comes to the idea is I'm going to get in a rowboat and I'm going to try to row my way out. So
well, I mean that was after they went full witch hunt. I mean they had a whole group meeting. They have like a whole list of places.
Yes.
I mean they even this is back in the day where they had to talk to people to get the yearbook pictures, but they went to the extent of talking to people to get the yearbook pictures to get a picture of the Hellfire Club. And they make the revelation of, oh shit, Sinclair's been lying to us this whole time.
That's true. Yes.
He's a traitor. It's like now Lucas has a target on his head.
Yeah.
But
also they're also leaning in heavily that, oh, this is a cult.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
which will come up later. So they go visit the house. And the break-in, and one of the first things they see going into it was the grandfather clock. And also like the little comment with Steve, like, oh, so the comment to Steve, like, oh, aren't you prepared? Do you have a flashlight with you? Like, we know what we're going to. That Dustin was giving him. And Steve's like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, get in the backpack, take the flashlight, do your thing, like, be an adult. And I thought it was very funny. It's like, oh, he's always calling the kids, and like Dustin's giving him the same shit on the way back.
Yep.
So they see the grandfather clock, still eerie as hell. And they decide to split up. And as you can see, the lights in the ceiling start flickering. And they made the comment too, specifically that there is no power currently in the house.
Yeah.
So they decided to break up the pairs. Like, oh, this is Scooby-Doo-esque right here. Let's go.
Yep.
So
I feel like Steve is Scooby. I don't know why. Steve just gives off the Scooby-Doo vibes.
yeah, and
He's not a Fred, and he's not a Shaggy.
He wants to be a Fred, but I don't think he's a Scooby either. I feel like he's Jethro.
Or is he the Velma? Or
no, he's Fred. He's Fred. He's the jock of the group.
No, he's Thomas. He's Jeffrey. Someone who's not on the damn show.
He's not Fred because Fred always calls the shots, and Nancy wears the pants in that relationship.
I guess, but like,
yeah.
but still, like, to me, Fred is like, to me, Steve's always one is like, he's not being the most intelligent person, but he's always coming up with plans.
Yeah,
Like I'll give Nancy more of Velma vibes,
yeah. Nancy's definitely the Velma.
and then Daphne I'll put for Robin, and then Dustin will probably be, I don't know. I don't know.
That's a hybrid.
This is a round peg in a square hole right now. We're
Yes.
trying to push this in very hard.
It was a rough analogy.
It's not working out well. We can make Steve Scrappy Doo.
All right, I'll settle for that.
Yeah. Annoying at the same time he's just there.
Yes.
So
now that we have our Scooby Doo assignments,
yeah, relatively
breakout.
speaking. Yeah, but we'll give Lucas Fred then, and then we'll go Max Daphne.
Yeah.
I like this a lot better. So, as they're exploring, we get Steve and Dustin are together, Robin and Nancy, and then we get Max and Lucas. First pass, Robin and Nancy, we didn't really get much interaction at first. Steve and Steve and Dustin, they are looking around. Dustin gives them the old English accent with the Sherlock Holmes quote.
Yep.
And then Dustin finds in one of the radiators a bunch of jars of like dead, mummified spiders. And then a spider starts crawling on him, and he freaks. And he mentions it was a Black Widow. And I'm kind of curious if Black Widows are actually native to that area.
I don't know much about them, but something tells me they're not.
Yeah. Because how would he know about that? So the thing that intrigues me is that the jars themselves being in that spot, because they haven't been touched. This place has not been touched in God knows how long. And the fact that no one actually I'm surprised that this place has not been disturbed yet, because this place has been unattended for, let's say, 20 years? Remember correctly?
Well, my guess is it hasn't been inhabited because it's so fucking haunted.
But here's the thing, though: you always get teenagers who want to go and check the haunted place out, or always as a dare or something. And the fact that it's a white
people thing.
It really is, and
I mean that's what we kind of did.
Like I did not do that. I did not fuck with any of that shit. No, thank you. But the funny thing is, my girlfriend is very much like she's into doing that, like checking out abandoned places and stuff. Like there's a place in Long Island that she's like, oh yeah, I visited there. Like I went there at night and stuff. Like you crazy? Like I don't believe in like spiritual stuff. But like,
bring out the Ouija board, man. Let's do it.
That is, she won't even touch that. Like she won't touch that at all. Like that's to her bad juju. But like even though like being in there dark and just like the eeriness, like that alone just like creeps me out. Don't want any part of that. That's not exciting to me at all. That is just some people trying to scare the shit out of me, and I'm not signing out for that.
I mean, your adrenaline is running high when you're in that kind of a scenario, just walking through an abandoned house.
Yes,
that you're slowly realizing belongs to basically Vecna.
And heightened senses as well. So why the jars are in there in the first place is very intriguing, because I'm curious now if one of the children had interactions with Vecna. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, because it's very much a trope, is that it's like they're like, oh, mommy and daddy, I made a new friend. And turns out the friend is a
haunted house. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's always a demon.
So funny enough, in the current Magic the Gathering set, so I play. So the set is Duskmourn, and very much the whole set is very funny. Me doing the Stranger Things stuff is that it's set in like a 1980s kind of realm, and same setup where like, oh, the demon's like in the house, he's locked away, the daughter has some issues. no, talks to the demon, and then the demon just envelops the whole plane, and now the whole plane is the house. Like
Right.
the rule underneath his binds was you cannot leave this house. So his answer to that was like, all right, if I can't leave the house, the whole world's now the house,
Oh shit.
and he just eats. It's you, Tommy. Like I'll send you after this. I'll send you some of the images from some of the cards, and
I like it.
as you somebody who loves 80 horror, you would love a lot of the cards.
Hell yeah.
It's cool as shit. But it's the same trope though. They really did the same exact trope in Match of the Gathering, and like it's right here too. Where it's like, oh, so
So
I'm kind of
so to spin off of your comment about the possibility of one of the kids interacting with Vecna, I gotta ask, what do you think Vecna's relationship with this house is?
that I'm not sure yet.
Because essentially this is his base of operations, and the
Yes,
things he makes everybody see, you know, the grandfather clock, the spiders are a staple piece of that house.
yes. So I think so. Currently speaking, I'm currently running off the Horcrux theme.
Okay.
So I think the or Horcrux or Harry Potter fans, the more apt D&D term would be the phylactery, which is pretty much where you keep the essence of a lich, which Vecna and D&D is one.
Yep.
And so the phylactery for me would probably be with the grandfather clock. So it could be a situation where the grandfather clock was inherited in the house, and
Okay.
it's more of a situation where like, oh, Vecna's been there, but because of the fact that this or like the clock was there, but because they moved into this place, no, the kids started having interaction, kind of like there was a one janky movie in the 2000s where it's like, oh, these parents built their house on a freaking Indian burial ground, and they had issues with that.
You mean the Poltergeist?
Is that the Poltergeist? I did look this up
Yes.
previously, and that did not give me like a definite answer on that.
Yeah, it was. There was obviously it was an '80s movie, but it was remade in the mid 2000s, I think.
There was
Yeah.
not the Poltergeist, but it was another movie that the plot was literally like, oh, it was built on an Indian burial ground bullshit.
Yeah,
But
because
like,
that is the exact plot of the Poltergeist. Is
okay, so that was I was not wrong on that. I'm glad that my intuition was correct on that. But like that kind of situation where like the clock was there, or they inherited somehow, antique store shit like that, and Vector came along with it.
or maybe the house was built on Vecna's grave. Who knows?
Who knows? But we do know that whatever happens in the reality world, the upside down does mirror, so it could also be a situation as well with that. So that's my current production. Like in the spiders, I'm still not sure yet, but to me, that is how they can. Like, to me, if the child, because Victor Creel did mention that the child was very sensitive to the stuff, or the son was, and I can definitely see like, oh, him having a collection of the spiders because there was multiple jars of them tells me that there was a bond created between Vecna and this child over these spiders and keeping them as pets. So that's where I'm going with right now. That's the current thought process. So, um, so Steve and Nancy have a little bonding moment when he runs out of the room like a child, and they talk. Steve tried to play off the quote that Dustin, and let's also let Dustin all alone by himself. Like, you're in pairs, don't do that. Don't split the party, people.
Never split.
And
Never split the party three ways for this house, but you know.
that like in a house it's fine, but still, like, don't leave someone by themselves. That's when bad things happen. It's like Clue. You just don't do that.
Yeah.
So I like how Steve kind of tried to play off the Sherlock Holmes quote that Dustin gave him or told him. I was like, oh, he's just being a doofus.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, and Nancy gives him the puppy dog eyes, like, oh, that was like, what a dumbass, but that was adorable.
Yeah.
And then Robin also is like, we're platonic with a capital P. Nothing much there. Lucas and Max have a nice spot where it's like, oh, them talking about how things are going, talking with the music, and like, oh, that's my favorite song too, because kept you alive. the comment Lucas meant to Max, like, oh, it's nice to hear that again. And Max like, what are you talking about? I was like, you laughing, because Lucas hasn't seen her laugh ever since probably Billy died.
Yeah.
Because she's again going through a huge depressive episode, and she just currently had a near death experience that can really pull you out of things and give you a different perspective on things. So let's see Max definitely lightening up. And then we get the wonderful flicker. And, if I made the comment too, Max is also still doubting her reality, where she's asking the group, hey, do you guys see that clock right there? Because I'm making sure you do, because the first time no one else saw what I saw.
Yep.
And second thing happened where the lights started flickering, and she goes to Lucas like, you saw that, right? I'm not going crazy here. Like, that happens. Like, yeah, that definitely happened. Everybody reconvenes. Then they make connection to the Upside Down with season 1 with the Christmas lights. Nancy does.
Yep.
And that was the first thing I thought of too. Like, oh, will they follow it? And they see the things flickering. I'm like, oh, cool, they are following it. Turn the flashlights off. Go track them down. Great use of that. I thought it was a very smart intuition thing. Very fun. And then they start going upstairs, following the light, and they eventually brought it to the attic. And Dustin trying to be the voice of reason, like, guys, you sure it won't be a trap? Like, this is real suspicious here.
Dustin was the audience in this moment. Go like, don't go through the door. Don't go through the door. Leave the house.
And the whole gang kind of circles up. Meanwhile, while on his rowboat, the jocks go see him, and during this whole thing, we do get the one character that was in the car, the jocks, that was dig at the clocks. We didn't see many visions. We did see many visions for him on this one. We just hear the clock the first time in the funeral. Also, the mother's alive of Chrissy, which I wasn't sure she was dead or not. So
why would she have been dead?
Well, again, this is my theories. We never got confirmation that Chrissy's mother was alive. Because all we had was Vecna, saying, because we had the pain that Chrissy was going through for the eating disorder stuff. We had the second victim who actually did kill someone, or I won't say kill someone, but it was an accident. But he's still holding over his head. Max had someone who died with her. So I kind of assumed that the mother was also dead, and this is how she was dealing with her grief. And so I'm still kind of fuzzy on how each one of them connects together. We know we're having similar experiences when it comes to their own trauma and how they're affecting maybe I think maybe suicidal thoughts. That's one thing I brought up previously that could be still on the table, but we really know what the true connection lines to the whole thing. So this guy we have no background on. We have no hallucinations, because the first clock we saw was the funeral. Second clock we saw was in the house, which is the hunting for Eddie.
Yep.
We also no hallucination. We'll get a second clock. The third one's coming soon. And then while he was swimming, the third clock came. And again, we know Vecna speaks to these people, and we didn't hear anything he said. So while Eddie's rowing away from these two assholes, the guy stops swimming. They both stop swimming. And it was like, hey, no, come on. He's right there. Eddie realizes,
and he knows what's happening.
And then the guy goes underneath the water.
I've seen this before.
And then comes up, and then you get the whole snap, eyeballs. And that's where our cuts. And then we get with the kids where they're all standing up nice together with their flashlights, and they go bright, and then we see Vecna doing his thing, and then pop.
Yep.
So yeah, so now they're really going to think Eddie is a cultist, because holy shit, that happened again right there. So if what's his name wanted him dead, he really wants him dead now, because that's two, and Eddie's been there for both of them.
Eddie had the perfect opportunity to just like look Jason in the eye, like, you want to be next, motherfucker.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how that was like the big conclusion of this one, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Uh,
It it wasn't as good of an episode as previous ones. And
yes.
like you said, it was more of it was a very backstory heavy between discovering what 11 went through, what Hopper had gone through. We get a death of a essentially an insignificant character of the story because we know nothing about this character, similar
Hmm.
to Chrissy and others. But it's definitely setting up for some intense shit to come. So, what do you think is going to happen next? Essentially, in I guess every storyline at this point, because they kind of leave little threads hanging there, but don't really give you much as to what's going to happen.
I'm curious. I'm really curious where they go pick up with Eddie, because the fact that like, oh, again, they're really gonna think he's a cultist because that literally just happened right in front of him. And literally, what's his name? Jace? What the hell his name is?
Jason, yeah,
Yeah, Jason. He literally saw his friend get mutilated in front of him, and there was no way in hell Eddie's gonna convince him that he had no part of that.
yeah,
So I'm curious what the hell's gonna happen, because Eddie's currently in the water with Jace, and Jason could really like try to drown him or something. Like it's a really, like, I'm surprised they didn't end up, the ending scene was that,
yeah,
because that could have been very much a great ending scene of that happening. Um, and then we that push every ending scene has so far has relatively has been people dying or Max, which fair enough. Like Vecna is the hammer of death. Um, I'm curious where they're going with the house, because they're all there. Vecna did his sacrifice.
uh huh.
Like, is Vecna going to bed? Like, yeah. So the other question is too, who is Vecna's next victim? Because I have not picked up anyone who's been teased to be the victim yet, and we know he's looking for people,
I
or
think it's
he's.
still going to be Max.
Do you think he's trying to clean up where he left off?
Yeah, I mean,
People,
plot wise, because she's still been avoiding him, and that whole interaction where she got inside of his, his special little area, he's still thrown off about that. So I'm sure he's going to go after her as much as he can.
yeah, but thing is, like, the fact that he didn't go back to her is the thing that shocks me right now, because the fact that originally the only time we know who got away was Victor Creole, and I guess Will too, but when was our discussion last week, or 2 weeks ago, where it was. But the thing is, like, this was a first face-to-face interaction with Vecna. Victor
Yeah.
Creole had that same thing, and Victor Creole killed off the other three people. Like, no, if I remember correctly, the boy was the one who was hospitalized and died. Correct.
He was in a coma for a week, I think,
Yes.
and then he died.
Also, still that even more figments that he was the one who was buddy with Vecna. To me at least. But the wife died, the daughter died, same circumstances, eyeballs gouged out.
Yep.
So to me, the fact that Vecna cleaned it up, and we know that Vecna did not let Victor Creel die, because every time that he tried to, he was preventing it.
Yep.
So I definitely think that Vecna would like to get at Max, but at the same time, I think he might try to target someone else. Like, I still think Lucas is on the table right now, because that's who Max is closest with.
Okay.
So, because with Victor, we don't know. like I know Victor had his nightmares because he had it from World War II, but we don't know anything about the wife or the daughter. We don't know if they had anything where there's like, anything suicidal in that aspect of things.
Yeah.
So, and we know they were fair game. So we'll find out, and we do know that Vecna does have power in that house originally because of the fact that he was manipulating the way that they were seeing things. So I'm curious, especially them being so close to that fucking grandfather clock.
Yeah.
So things are gonna get real interesting. I could definitely see a Scooby-Doo scene where them going in and out of doors. That'd be very funny if that happens. That's always the montage of like opening up and you see like, oh, there he is. Goodbye.
That's great. Now, what would the soundtrack song be for that? Would they go with the Scooby Doo version, or would they pick a new song for that?
They do a different song for that. They would do like let's see. Hold on. Let's see when that movie was released because that will be probably a fun one. Shit, my girlfriend's gonna hate me. I can't think of the name of the movie right now. God. Rocky Horror.
Ooh, okay. I can see that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Let's shit. Time Walk. Yeah. That'd be a great song for that one.
Yeah, Time Warp would be a good one.
Time Warp would be good. I would say Time Warp. Yeah, Time Warp would be a great song for that. Because all these Scooby Doo ones are very upbeat and upgoing. Like, no, so having to play that song as a like dodgy in and out, like, oh, that'd be very fitting for that.
I would like to see it be Monday by the Monkees.
I haven't heard that song in a while. That'd be a fun one.
Yeah.
But
anyway, let's wrap this bad boy up because
yes,
we're losing Mitchell. It is late tonight.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, Mitch.
Yeah. Did we wrap everything up? We have the final 11.
And Shoot's gonna figure shit out. Let's be real. Like,
yeah. Final. I just like this scene of just how he kind of like, it's that awkward moment of like 11 getting her powers back, and he's like, daughter, and he just nods, and they just take hands and walk down the hall. Like, it was an interesting way to end the episode.
Mm-hmm.
The creepy daddy-daughter walk down the hall.
Yeah.
But all right, ratings.
I'm gonna give this one I'll say a 8.6.
Nice. I was going for 8.7. I think we've discussed enough as to why we feel that way.
Yes.
I'm gonna go. My Mitchell score is gonna be 8.53. I feel like we're all on the same wavelength on this episode.
I'll undercut you with 8.42.
Oof.
8.39. So Connor, you were very close, but yeah, we're all in the same arena. I just thought that it started off kind of weak, and then it ended at a point that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of, but all the stuff in the middle I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. So. I agree with that. If they reorganize some of this stuff, that probably would have been better.
Yeah.
But all the stuff to me is necessary.
This is the exact halfway point of the season, so I mean, we know there's a lot more to come.
And also, this is very much an L-centered episode too.
Yes.
So we're building that up.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
That's it for tonight.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for listening to us ramble about the Stranger Things, and I'm again really enjoying this. So follow us on our socials, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun jazz. For Connor Vandermark, Mitchell Lee, Tommy Grant. That's all.
Peace.